Welcome back to RAMD, where we're taking a look at the Ape Escape series. It's been a long time, actually. Today we'll be looking at a certain PSP game called Ape Escape on the Loose. Now, initially I wanted to go into this video hating on this game. One of the best parts of the original Ape Escape was how they implemented the dual analog, and how the gadgets would move in specific directions depending on where you move the analog stick. It led to a lot of interesting gameplay mechanics that you couldn't find in any other games at the time. Or if we're honest with ourselves, I haven't really seen anything else like Ape Escape out there. Most games just use the second analog to use the camera. Now, of course, I've already done a whole video about the story and the overall gameplay and design of the first Ape Escape, so you should probably go watch that instead of this one if you want to hear more about those sorts of things. This video will be talking about the differences between the original and this game. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is my favorite addition to this game, the improved graphics. The original Ape Escape's graphics, while definitely stylish for the time, are a little too blocky for my taste. Of course, I was more an N64 gamer growing up than a PlayStation gamer. This game fixes that by greatly improving the character models. They're so rounded and smooth now, and with just a bit more detail added to them. It really does look like a great PSP game in my opinion. In fact, the graphical improvements are one of the things that would make me want to play this more than the original PlayStation game, if not for quite a few other problems this game has. But before we get to the problems, let's talk about another thing that's pretty good about it: new voice actors. Now, I actually did like the voice acting in the original Ape Escape game. Some of the deliveries were a little bit iffy, but for the most part, considering what other games were doing at the time,
you were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
To protect the life cycle, I have made a creature to rule over mankind. This is the final battle.
What am I
I
fighting for?
thought the voice acting was pretty good. The voice acting here, I think, is definitely an improvement. Natalie has a cute but annoying voice.
That does that, then this happens. In other words, that causes this. Therefore, if in fact that happens, then... Eureka! Natalie, the time machine is complete!
Already. We've got bigger problems, you know?
The professor's voice sounds pretty much as good as it did in the original. I personally like Specter's voice more in the original game, where he kind of came off as a whiny know-it-all, which he pretty much was. But no. The two characters we need to talk about here are Spike and Jake, who are played by, I kid you not, Richard Stephen Horvitz and Joshua Setch. No, those names don't ring any bells? Well, what if I were to tell you that Spike is Rasputin from Psychonauts,
Then it's just about done.
and Jake is Ty from Digimon?
I wonder if we could take a trip in it today.
Can you believe that? Of course, their voices are so distinct that I recognized them the second they started talking. What is up with Pokemon and Digimon voice actors getting in on the Ape Escape train, along with a little Yu-Gi-Oh in there? Weird. But overall, I'm satisfied with their performances. Even when they are inexplicably deciding to use a clip from the original Ape Escape game for one of Natalie's lines.
Why is Jake over there? What's happened to him? How did he change so completely? Jake! Snap out of it! Jake! Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, don't just stand there. Get me out of here.
I can't reach you from here. I've got to find a way in there.
There must be a way in here somehow.
What's up with that? Okay, that's for the most part all the good stuff. Now let's get into my problems with this game. Where this game really starts falling apart is with the gadgets. They were so brilliantly utilized in the original game with the control scheme. But here, the PSP doesn't have a second analog stick, so they had to get a little creative. And it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Let's have a look at each of the gadgets and see how they fare in this game. The stun club and the net. Now I'm lumping these two together because how you move them with the analog stick in the original game was pretty similar. you just tapped it in a direction, and that's where you'd swing the net or the stun club. And if you spin it around, you'd do a sort of spin attack. The spin attack was absolutely essential to catching apes. And how do they do it in this game? They've made it so that after you select a gadget with a button, you tap that button again to use that gadget. Now, in theory, this doesn't seem that bad, but in action, well, you have to position Spike so that he's pointing himself at the monkey before you can catch them with a net. It adds a lot of tedious running around that wasn't as necessary in the original game, and the spin attack is practically worthless because you have to hold the button down and stand perfectly still. It just takes too long, and I barely use it in this one. This is a huge problem, as the net and stun club are so essential to the game. Next we have the Slingback Shooter, which is done very well in this game. You just press the button and you can aim Spike in the direction you want and fire away, just like in the original game. Or you can press the camera button for a first-person view. Spike never really moved while he was doing this, so it's pretty easy to adapt it for a single analog setup. Hey, good job guys. The monkey radar, oh my gosh. This is another example of the analog stick being a much better method of using a gadget. In the original game, one thing I would do is just run around with Spike, and with the right analog stick, I'd spin the radar around to see where all the monkeys were. It works so well, and in this game, you have to stand still to spin the radar around, and you'll have to run Spike in the direction of wherever the monkey is. It just doesn't feel as intuitive as it did in the first game. So yeah, that's another bad gadget for this game. However, they're not all bad. Let's take a look at the Skyflyer. Now the Skyflyer in the original game, you'd spin the analog stick and the Skyflyer would spin, allowing you to fly, and breaking Spike's wrist at the same time. Seriously, how is he doing that? In this game, you select the Skyflyer with a button, and then you rapidly press that button to fly. It works surprisingly well. In fact, I kinda like it more than spinning the analog stick. In this case, I would say that the spinning the analog stick was more of a gimmick than an actual important feature, as opposed to the gotcha net and the stun club. So yeah, the Skyflyer is perfectly functional in this game. I just wish more gadgets were. Speaking of gadgets that don't work in this game, oh, the RC car. What happened to you, buddy? What did they do to you? The RC car was a fantastic item in the original game. It was like controlling two characters at the same time. You move Spike with one analog, you move the car with the other. It's a very clever mechanic, and very fun. However, in this game you move the RC car with the D-pad. That's right, the D-pad. And it is every bit as hard as it sounds. Oh, that thing needs analog movement, and the D-pad is not providing it. Not to mention, look at the location of the analog nub and the D-pad on the PSP. Does it look like it's easy to touch those at the same time? No, it isn't. Just look at me struggle to complete this normally very easy RC car puzzle. Now, there is a slight fix for this if you own a PlayStation Vita, as I believe you can set the second analog to act as the D-pad. So, hey, the RC car is kind of fixed in that version. If you're playing it on a PSP, on the other hand, you're flat out of luck. It's a menace controlling this thing. Oh, and also we have the Super Hoop. The Super Hoop is also perfectly functional in this version. You just select it with a button and rapidly tap the button just like the Skyflyer, and off you go. Once again, I kinda like it more in this game. Lastly, we have the Magic Punch, which works fine. You select it with a button, you press the button again, and the Magic Punch comes out and hits whatever you want it to hit. Now, some of you might be saying, well, what about spinning it around? The Magic Punch was never meant for spinning. You could do it, yes, but it didn't accomplish much. I'm serious, go back to the original game and try it. The Magic Punch has always been for straightforward attacks, and it works great. Let's count up the gadgets that work great and the gadgets that suck, and tally the score. Well, would you look at that? The number of badly used gadgets ties with the number of well-done gadgets. So I guess half this game is great and half this game is bad. Ugh. Unless you're playing it on the PlayStation Vita. Does anyone own those things? Okay, we just have 2 more things to cover for this game. First up, vehicles. And here we have my least favorite vehicle of all time, the raft again. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what have they done? The raft! It's actually not that convoluted to control. You just point the analog number in a direction, and it goes there. Miracles can happen! Miracles can happen! But it still kind of sucks. Now we move on to a good vehicle, the tank. It works. They came up with a pretty good design for how to move it with the single analog stick. You just hold forward to go forward and right and left to rotate the tank around. It works. Then you just press the left button to go into aiming mode, and you press right to fire. It works pretty good. So yeah, I'd say it's just as good as the original. So who'da thunk it? The vehicles are actually better than the original game. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the minigames, which are, it turns out, the most altered parts from the original game. Who'da thunk it? Some of them have been updated, and one of them has been completely changed. First we have Snow Kids Racing, which they changed from skis to snowboards, and they got rid of the paper parappa aesthetic, which I don't have a problem with, even if the characters appear to all have the same bodies with different heads. It plays pretty good. There may only be 3 courses as far as I can tell, but they're very long, and it reminds me of that avalanche sequence in Sonic Adventure. Plus, I think the turns are easier to take, and the controls are much better than they were in the original Snow Kids game. So, overall, I think it's an improvement. Just know that I didn't go back to play the original minigames recently, so I'm mostly going off of memory here. Next up, we have Specter Boxing, and holy cow, is this a major improvement. Specter Boxing used the analog sticks in the original to throw punches, and, well, it did not work at all. I absolutely hate the original Specter Boxing, but this one, heck, the lack of the second analog stick may have helped the game. They've made it simpler. You just move around with the analog stick, and the different buttons make your ape move in different ways, like dodging and uppercuts and jabs. It's pretty fun. Honestly, when I was recording footage for this video, I just wanted to keep playing. But I didn't have the time for that. Someday, Specter Boxing. Someday. Next, we have the excellent Space Apes. What a fantastic 2-player shmup. Oh, that's right, they changed it to ping pong. Oh. Now, it's not bad. It's actually pretty fun. It's just simple, move right and left, and you hit the ball. It's fine. Though the super attacks get used way too often, and I don't like the way it takes the focus off of the table. Plus, when the ball gets covered in fire, it's really hard to tell where it is and where you're supposed to take your ape to hit it. It's okay, but I think you're better off playing Snow Kids Racing or Specter Boxing. Seriously though, Space Apes was amazing. I love that game. And I should go play that right now. And that's pretty much it for Ape Escape on the Loose. They did add some enemy cards which weren't in the original game, but they're not that big of a deal. You just look up the enemy names and stuff. They're a nice little addition, I guess. Overall, Ape Escape on the Loose. Would I recommend it over the original game? Not really. The original game's controls were so precise and well thought out. And even though I do like the Super Hoop and Skyflyer slightly more in this game with the rapid button pressing, I have to admit, I do have a little bit of nostalgic fondness for that rotating analog stick. So yeah, if you have a gun to your head someday and someone is forcing you to choose between these 2 copies, well, first of all, what is the problem with that guy? They're psychotic. But I'd say definitely go with the PlayStation version. But, if you're a big Ape Escape fan, go ahead and check out On the Loose. I don't think you'll be that disappointed. I'm Tayo, and this has been an episode of RAMD. Join us next time, where we will see what happens when Sony builds an Ape Escape game from the ground up for the PSP's controls. Much better results, I'm telling you right now. See you next time. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you want to see more, you should check out this channel that me and my friend have. It's called The Strategy Guides. We've played so many games on this channel. Please check it out. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. If you want to see more of my Ape Escape videos, here's an annotation to the playlist here. There's a lot of them. My personal recommendation is Million Monkeys. I even made a guide to it. No one's ever done that. Go look for a guide on GameFAQs. It's not there, I promise you. And if you want to see more videos, go and just click on that little subscribe button over there. I apologize it took so long to get this video out, but hopefully I'll get the next one out much sooner. See you later. Oh, and the load times are awful, by the way. Just awful.